Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Steve Breach coming to you with possibly one of the hottest wrestling discussion videos that there is going to be today. I think there's going to be a lot of videos made about Goldberg coming to WWE. In what capacity that is going to be. Last night, we saw, after 2 days of speculation of WWE tweeting out pictures of, a hatch and, what was going to come out of the hatch. I think a lot of people had different ideas on what was going to happen. Some people were thinking that it was going to be the debut of Finn Balor. Some people thinking it was going to be the return of the Wyatts. At the end of the day, the cops drove all the way out. They opened up the hatch, they blew it open, and there was Goldberg standing there. And he walked out, sort of doing his WCW entrance with the cops, and took off in the cop car and drove into Suplex City. They almost sort of portrayed him as if he was a superhero, going to, fight the fight, why he was trapped in this hatch. We don't really know, but I'm not the biggest Goldberg fan. I will put that out there 100%. I was there when Goldberg beat Hogan in the Georgia Dome. Quite possibly one of the biggest matches that I've ever seen live. Quite possibly one of the biggest moments that I've ever been there. It wasn't like WrestleMania 27. It wasn't the full dome, but the dome was sold out that day. It was sold to capacity plus. People were sitting behind the curtain. People were basically sitting in seats that they couldn't even see the ring because they wanted to be a part of the action. I'd be a fool to say that Goldberg wasn't a big part of the wrestling boom of the late 90s. But the one thing that a lot of people remember about Goldberg is that he didn't make the jump. So he was a guy that was playing on the losing team, which doesn't hurt a lot of people when you think about Ric Flair, when you think about Sting, when you think about Goldberg. Who knows what would have happened if Goldberg wouldn't have punched the window out in the limo, where basically he banged up his whole arm, he messed up his tendons, and he had to go out. And the time that he missed was some of the times that WCW really slipped off the map and they weren't able to ever really grab that place back that they had in wrestling. Obviously, when they brought back the NWO and put the title on Hogan, Goldberg was going to run through the NWO guy by guy until he finally got to reach Hulk Hogan and win the championship again. So they were definitely putting him on the chase to be the guy, but instead he had to go home because he messed his arm up. But I don't know. I mean, people are excited. Definitely when you look at, outside deals of being people, of helping bring people back into the fold in WWE. I honestly think of the Macho Man Randy Savage doing the Comic-Con thing for, I believe it was Mattel in the Defining Moments line. His first figure that he had done in WWE in a long time. He was there to launch the figure. I don't think he was, with WWE at that point. I think he was just there to be a special guest of Mattel and launch the doll. But, that caught like wildfire. And I believe that was 2011. And I honestly thought 2011 was going to be Macho Man's year. I thought we were finally going to get him back in WWE, finally going to get him into the Hall of Fame, finally get that moment of Macho Man being able to do, a sit-down interview for a documentary, being able to be one of the talking heads in a lot of the, WWE DVDs and documentaries that they put out. But instead, we tragically lost the Macho Man. And from there, it was outside deals that brought in the Ultimate Warrior for the video game, which then opened up the door for Vince and Warrior to sort of bury the hatchet and get Warrior into the Hall of Fame. Sting is a little bit of a sticky situation. I think that Sting hadn't signed a WWE deal, but I think WWE and Sting were on the same page, knowing that they weren't going to be needing Sting for a little while. They didn't need to bring him in until that Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania build to the Sting versus Triple H match. But I honestly think that they were building up to something, but Sting was in the video game commercial, and I don't know. To me, honestly, people had a pretty good response to Goldberg. I mean, if you think about it, Goldberg's probably one of the most popular guys that's not involved in wrestling right now. I wouldn't say he's the hottest free agent in wrestling, but if you think about the Goldberg WCW DVD that came out a few years ago, that really turned a lot of heads and got people surprised about how people really felt about WCW and, needing that stuff in their collection and wanting to watch it. To me, honestly, WCW closed in 2001. Goldberg came for a run in 2002, 2003. So it's basically been 13 years since we've seen Goldberg. Goldberg definitely could be a Hall of Fame guy. I think that honestly, if he was going to wrestle for WWE, I think that went out the window at WrestleMania 27 when they couldn't get the deal done to bring Sting in to fight Undertaker and to sort of have a feel of WCW in Atlanta. They went to Goldberg and were not able to close out and make a deal for Goldberg versus Undertaker. I think that was closing the door on him wrestling in WWE. If he wanted to wrestle a match, maybe he could go over to Japan and wrestle in one of those companies over there. Maybe he could do a match for TNA if he wanted to. But I think he wants to be on the main stage, which honestly really did surprise me when Goldberg came out and said that he was going to have a kickboxing fight with Alberto Del Rio last year on that, not Bellator, but on that Spike TV deal. And honestly, to me, I know that he has his car shows and I don't even know if he does that podcast anymore, and that is kind of just hokey to me because I'm not involved in that, so I don't really know what stage that's on, if that's really on a main channel, if it's really one of the main popular shows, or what it is. But I heard the podcast was honestly horrible, and he never really had wrestling fans on there or wrestling people on there. And I guess with Goldberg as a name on a podcast, you think that they're going to try and bring in actual wrestling fans to the deal. But I don't think Goldberg's going to wrestle. I think that honestly the door could be open for WrestleMania 33 for Goldberg to go into the Hall of Fame. Because honestly, when it comes down to it, who's really left? I mean, you think about who's out there. I don't even really know who could headline a class, let alone guys that could go in and help support a Hall of Fame. I mean, when I think about guys that should be Hall of Famers, I go down the list of WWF champions, and I think the next WWF champion, or the farthest back champion who's not in the Hall of Fame from my era, is a guy like Psycho Sid. And I know they got Triple H, and he's probably not going to go in for a long time for the same reason that Vince isn't going to go in, and they don't want to put themselves in. Maybe they put DX in to sneak him in there. But, there's The Undertaker, there's The Rock. You got to wonder when those are going to happen, if Undertaker's going to wrestle once a year and them not want to put him in for that reason, if The Rock's ever not going to be busy enough to be able to get put into the Hall of Fame, if he's going to want to be able to put that on his career, basically saying that it's done, when we haven't seen it in a while. I guess we did get a match at 32, but I mean, we haven't got a real match from The Rock since 29, and who knows if he's going to want to wrestle a real match again, or if he's going to be able to. I mean, the story this year was that the insurance problems were locking him out. So, we'll see what's going down with Goldberg. But the big story is that the door's open, and let's see if anybody wants to let him in.